Gu Shijiu could not help but steal a glance at him. When that fella called her Shijiu, it sounded all too natural, as if he had always been addressing her that way. He was just calling her by the name Chongsheng just now. It seemed that he had heard much of the conversation between Yun Yanli and her, so he knew her real name. Of course, let's push it out. Gu Shijiu immediately pushed Yun Yanli's wheelchair and walked away. Shen Nianmo's lips curved upwards slightly. It seems like this man is not only unable to walk but unable to use his hands as well. Yun Yanli was speechless. He was an astute character, so he said, Shijiu, let me do it myself. He was, in fact, able to push himself. Gu Shijiu looked at Yun Yanli's wrist, which was still covered in fresh blood, and cut him right off. There is no need. She stole another glance at Shen Nianmo, mused, and took out the cherry blossom snake. She extracted the snake's poison, filled it in a small bottle, and handed it to Shen Nianmo. Fui, you can go back first. This poison has been diluted by 100 times through the water from the glacier, and was added with lanua grass. She laid out in detail the ingredients of the medicine, and eventually said, your juniors are in critical condition now. Let them each take this medicine, and then use your spiritual powers to help them to detoxify their bodies. Remember to put on a mask and gloves when approaching them. My juniors. Are they not your juniors? Shen Nianmo asked in return. Of course, they are mine as well. That kid tends to find fault in what she said. Alright, they are our juniors. What about you? Shen Nianmo's eyes were gloomy. Brother Yun's injury needs to be attended to immediately. We will split up, and I will visit you guys again after 3 days. Whatever. Shen Nianmo turned and left without any sign of reluctance. Gu Shijiu was stunned for a moment. Seeing his figure disappear, she felt indecipherable remorse in her heart. Yun Yanli was somewhat regretful as well. Shijiu, your junior seems to be rather unhappy. It is all my fault starting a conflict between the both of you, no problem. He is just childish. It will all be fine soon. Gu Shijiu pushed him out of the cave. I have inspected your injury. The poison has hurt your veins, and, to top it with the fact that you have been rather impatient at training, you are in deep trouble, so much so that you lost control of both your legs. However, it is not incurable. Wait until I bring you out, we can look for a place to let you bathe with a couple of herbs, and with my spells, you could recover within 3 days. Gu Shijiu had great medicinal skills. She had already inspected his veins while helping him to break free from the chains. Yun Yanli's injury was, in fact, not lethal. It was only because he had failed to get immediate treatment, and was being experimented with different medicines that he ended up that way. Yun Yanli had been helping her a lot in the past. Throughout the few hundred years, he had been by her side as she paid the mighty immortals numerous visits. He had devoted his time and effort, so Gu Shijiu was indebted to him. Now that he was in trouble, it was only natural for her to help him with all her abilities. She pushed him out to the tortuous cherry blossom forest, and towards the side of a deep pond. The hills and cliffs surrounded them. To leave the place, they would have to ride on a bird or something, or by following the original route towards the tree palace and exit from there. Gu Shijiu was carrying Yun Yanli, so she was unable to fly over. She was considering going through the tree palace when suddenly, the sound of a bird broke the silence of the sky, and 2 huge birds emerged from within the clouds and landed between Yun Yanli and her. Purple feathers and a green abdomen, with jade-green tips at the wings. They were as big as storks and looked as grim as can be. Gu Zijia's heart stopped for a moment. Were these 2 birds the legendary birds with poisonous feathers? Such birds were a real rarity in the world. It was even more uncommon to spot 2 at the same time. This kind of bird was extraordinarily poisonous and was immune to any sort of poison. That was why they were able to pass through the blossom garden mist from the above. The 2 birds looked incredibly proud as they kept their chests up. One of the birds tilted its head to the side and looked at Gu Shijiu. It suddenly spoke to her. We will bring you there. Gu Shijiu was puzzled. She sought more information. Who is your master? We will bring you there. The bird only reiterated. Perhaps it only knew that sentence. Gu Shijiu was somewhat disappointed. However, with the two birds before her, it meant that her biggest problem had been solved and she would not have to take the long way through the tree palace. Each bird could accommodate one rider comfortably, but two was rather tricky. Yun Yanli wanted to keep his dignity. He did not want Gu Shijiu to take care of him as if he was a paralyzed person. He hit his palm on the ground and pushed himself up onto the back of one of the birds. Gu Shijiu saw that he was rather agile, hence, she was not too concerned. She then hopped onto the back of the other bird. The birds then flapped their wings and took off. Fortunately, along the way, Gu Shijiu realized that the two birds could understand her. Therefore, she could instruct them on the directions. They immediately flew to a nearby city and landed in a restaurant. Those kinds of birds were extremely rare. So, when Gu Shijiu and Yun Yanli touched down, they caused a sensation and invited the people to crowd them. Is this the legendary bird with poisonous feathers? This is the kind with crested heads. Much more exotic than the normal ones. The kind with crested heads. I heard that Di Fui had tamed a pair of such birds a year ago. Could this pair be his? It couldn't be. Di Fui always takes extremely good care of his birds, and would never lend them to anyone. These two are not Di Fui's. Or could these two be friends of Di Fui? Since it is only Di Fui alone who has tamed such birds. They could only belong to him. Definitely. People were gossiping, and Gu Shijiu could finally determine who was the owner of the pair of birds. It seemed that Shin Nianma was worried about her, perhaps he was afraid that Yun Yanli and her could not leave the area. She felt a warmth gush in her heart, and extended her arm to tap the wings of the birds. Help me send my gratitude to your master. The two birds were proud. After dropping Gu Shijiu and Yun Yanli off, they flapped their wings and flew away, without even looking at the crowd. It seemed that Di Fui was popular in the area. Due to the birds, the cafe was fully occupied, but the owner still offered them 2 guest rooms for free as his courtesy to Di Fui. Gu Shijiu was contented. She never thought that Shin Nianma could achieve such great things even at such a young age. He was indeed talented. Gu Shijiu quickly settled their accommodation, and immediately attended to Yun Yanli's injury. Gu Shijiu was modest in terms of keeping a certain distance between them, she respected that they had different genders. She did not want to always spend time alone with Yun Yanli, hence, she used her directed audio to get into contact with Long Sai. Long Sai arrived shortly, in just 30 minutes. Long Sai was very capable and respected by Emperor Yi Tianli. He had ascended to the position of a general since he came to the upper bound. With considerable authority at his hands, he could be considered a level 3 official now. Yun Yanli was once the superior of Long Sai. Therefore, Long Sai was indebted to Yun Yanli and was comforted seeing that he was safe. Naturally, Long Sai agreed to help Gu Shijiu with treating Yun Yanli's injury. After talking for a bit, Gu Shijiu allowed Yun Yanli to meditate to facilitate his recovery while she went out to prepare the ingredients. Long Sai followed her and helped her. Shijiu. Long Sai was finding it hard to say what he wanted to say. Gu Shijiu took a glance at him. Yup. You may speak frankly. There is no need to beat around the bush with me. Long Sai was surprised by her frankness. He went straight to the point. Do you think your Royal Highness Yun's words are trustable? Gu Shijiu mused and tilted her head upwards to look at him. What are you suspicious about? Long Sai replied, I somehow feel that this is too much of a coincidence. It feels awry. Do you not find it suspicious at all? Gu Shijiu muttered under her breath. It is not that I have not found it suspicious. In fact, I suspect that he is the mastermind behind the young palace master. However, I have examined his injury, and it seemed more like a long-term injury. His legs were also paralyzed by poison. He had traces of drugs in his body, that should be caused by taking too many medicinal drugs. The poison had entered his veins, and this could only happen after a matter of 3 to 5 years. Had this only been deceit to ask for my sympathy, it would not be this way. Long Sai heaved a sigh of relief and looked at Gu Shijiu with his eyes full of respect for her. Shijiu, you are indeed very meticulous. Gu Shijiu shook her head slightly. Had she not been meticulous, she would not have been alive. She did not want to hold her guard against her friends, but would instead want to go through life's ups and downs with them. However, had it been a friend that she had not met for a couple of years, she would still hold on to her guard, since a couple of years was enough to alter a person's character. Gu Shijiu mused for a moment and ordered Long Sai, Instructor Long, it would be better to keep the fact that Yun Yanli is still alive a secret from your Majesty. Long Sai understood and nodded. Of course, only that. Is your Royal Highness all right with keeping his identity a secret? The Master of the World had changed. If the Prince of the old king is still alive, that would invite suspicion from the new king. According to the political norm, the new king would give his all in removing all remnants of the previous ruling, especially a prince as ambitious as Yun Yanli. Although the new king had once worked under Yun Yanli, it did not mean that the new king would hold any empathy for Yun Yanli. So in order to continue living in the world, all Yun Yanli could do was to hide his identity. Gu Shijiu had a headache as well. Yun Yanli was her friend that had helped her a lot back in the day, and she would not want to see anything bad happen to him. She could only take one step at a time. She would try her best to convince him to withdraw from politics. However, the final decision would be up to him. Gu Shijiu attended to Yun Yanli's injury for 2 days. The process was somewhat complicated, and Long Sai had been by her side, assisting her all the time. 2 days later, Gu Shijiu managed to remove all the remaining poison from Yun Yanli's body. However, since he had been poisoned for so many years, it was hard for his pulse to recover, and his external abilities had been diminished by half. The good thing was that, after the treatment, he could finally discard his wheelchair and stand on his feet. He could walk like normal, and could even use his spiritual power to lift himself. After he had recovered, he visited his sister's secluded palace. The siblings finally got to meet each other, and it was a bittersweet rendezvous. Yun Yanli was a child growing up from within the political turmoil, hence, he was rather shrewd. Yun Yanli did not dare stay there for long. After having a chat that lasted about 2 hours with his sister, he bid his goodbye. While the siblings were speaking, Gu Shijiu waited outside. She did not wish to pry. Since Princess Yun lived in a lush, secure forest above the 8th heaven, Yun Yanli would not be able to sneak himself to meet his sister with his current external abilities. When Yun Yanli came out, his eyes were red. It was obvious that he had cried in there. Gu Shijiu did not say anything and simply brought him away. Gu Shijiu led him away and arrived at the 6th level where the demons and immortals coexisted. She then asked him about his plans. Yun Yanli inhaled a breath of air, and said wryly, "It has ended up this way, what else could I plan for? I hope to find my father first since he is only missing." Gu Shijiu shook her head in silence. Emperor Yun has been missing for such a long time, it would mean more bad news rather than good news. There was little possibility that he could still be alive. Looking for him would end up to no avail as well. She paused for a moment, and said, "Your Highness, the change in empires happen by fate, as does among the immortals and the people of the land. An empire run entirely by a family would not last long. Your father's deeds when he ruled was not liked by the people either, and instead caused a wave of despair. Now that Yi Tianli rules the world, as you can see, the people are living a safe and prosperous life. Your Highness, you will need to be more open-minded, and not be overly determined, or else you would inflict trouble upon yourself." Yun Yanli's dark eyes fell on her. "Shijiu, I know that you say so for my own good, only that he was not satisfied. The empire built by the Yun family had been substituted. He was once a member of the royal family, and now he had to instead scurry about hiding himself, not even able to reveal his true identity. He had to disguise himself when he went outdoors." Gu Shijiu could understand him. However, if he did not learn to let go, he would only suffer. She could only help him to that point, so she tapped on Yun Yanli's shoulder and said, "Your Highness, you will need to learn to let go, especially when the circumstances have been finalized, otherwise, you will only inflict problems onto yourself and not solve anything. With your abilities, even if you are no longer the king, you will be able to fare well in many aspects of your life." "Alright, I will stop right here. You can sleep on it. I am leaving." It was time for her to go and look for Shen Yanma. She could also check on whether the poison in her junior's body had been cured. Yun Yanli was somewhat reluctant. However, he did not know what plans Gu Shijiu had. So, he smiled and responded, "Shijiu, I am heavily indebted to you. No matter how I turn out to be eventually, I would have regained my freedom, and hence, I would consider what you said. Is there any chance of us meeting again? If fate brings us together, we will see each other again one day." Gu Shijiu did not turn back. Yun Yanli was sitting in the room while staring at where Gu Shijiu before she disappeared. Moments later, he said, "Shijiu, I believe that we will meet each other again someday, and that day will arrive soon." Gu Shijiu stood at the top floor of the building. She took out a directed audio talisman and closed her eyes for some time. She then started contacting Shen Yanma, and, as usual, he did not show any sign of picking up. When she was going through danger in the tree palace with Shen Yanma, she gave him a directed audio talisman, saying that they could keep in touch with each other through the device. Since splitting with Shen Yanma, she had only contacted him through the directed audio device once. Even then, they were not entirely on good terms. When she managed to reach him, she thanked him for his legendary crested birds with poisonous feathers. She spoke more than 10 sentences while Shen Yanma kept silent. After listening to her, he merely chuckled but did not say anything before hanging up. Later on, when Gu Shijiu started contacting him again, he stopped answering. It was the same this time. The directed audio talisman glowed in her palm for more than 10 times, but no one picked up. Could that bastard have thrown her directed audio talisman away? Gu Shijiu had a strong feeling that she could be right. She thought about it and decided to go to Yu Hangzhenren training ground, Wujie Hill. That was also what she had promised Yu Hangzhenren. She still had the appearance of a 12 to 13-year-old kid and introduced herself as Ren Chongsheng before going up Wujie Hill. Those who were guarding the gates had been ordered to let her in, hence, they invited her gleefully up the hill, while addressing her as their senior. Gu Shijiu asked the guard, "Has your big brother returned?" "He came back once yesterday, but he left again this morning." Gu Shijiu was surprised. If Shen Yanma was not at the hill, then what was she going there for? Where did he go? The apprentice looked at Gu Shijiu warily. "Do you like big brother as well?" Gu Shijiu replied nonchalantly, "Yeah, I like him, he is cute." The male apprentice said was dumbfounded. That was his first time hearing someone describing his big brother with the adjective cute. He found it rather rare. Nonetheless, he was excited. "Sister, a lot of people like big brother." Those who had sisters always got envious of him, and would silently see him as their rival. Shen Nianmo's figure appeared in Gu Zijia's mind. The little fella really had a dangerous face, therefore, it was probably very easy for him to attract girls. Gu Shijiu listened to the gossip about Shen Yanma for a while, and finally interrupted the boy apprentice who had been rambling. "You have yet to tell me where has big brother gone to?" The boy apprentices were rather embarrassed. "We are not sure either. Big brother tends to do his things secretively, and he has not returned to the hill much throughout these 2 years. However, our master would definitely be aware of it. You could go up the hill and ask him." Gu Shijiu kept her disappointment to herself. All right, then she would go and visit Yu Hangzhenren since she was his apprentice. It was courtesy for her to visit him. The apprentice guided her into the hill, and she then saw numerous tall buildings built by the hillside. Shrouded among the phoenix tree forest, with green stones being paved into pathways underneath them, coupled with the drizzle and the moist green, it looked somewhat secluded. Gu Shijiu ascended the stairs and reached the top. She met a young man. When he saw her, all of a sudden, his eyes lit up, and he rushed towards her. Sister Chongsheng. The young man was, in fact, Si Qing. Seeing that he was up and about, it was obvious that the venom had been cured. Si Qing was exhilarated to see her. He then took her to the living area. Gu Shijiu met Yu Hangjinren at the hall of Wujie Hill and greeted him politely. Yu Hangjinren was all fresh. Chongsheng, you are finally back. That plan of yours was of great leverage, and the medicine you prepared was rather effective as well. Si Qing and Qing Luo both took them and fully recovered after resting for half a day. Gu Zijia's lips curved upwards. She knew that the medicine would be effective. Jinren, where is Nianma? After Gu Shijiu and Yu Hangjinren casually chatted for a while, Gu Shijiu went for her ultimate goal. Yu Hangjinren was puzzled as he looked at her pretty face. You came because of him. Of course, had it not been for that little fella, why would she call Yu Hangjinren her master? In fact, her external abilities were comparable to that of Yu Hangzhenren's. Gu Shijiu did not answer, she waited patiently for Yu Hangzhenren's answer. She did not expect Yu Hangjinren to answer her in a solemn tone. Chongsheng, you have achieved so much at such a young age. It is obvious that you are a genius. You are still young and should leave matters pertaining to relationship aside, focus on your training instead. One day, you will be a successful person. Gu Shijiu was annoyed. It seemed that Yu Hangjinren had treated her as an admirer of Shin Nianma. Yu Hangjinren continued, although Nianma looks like an adult, he is essentially still a 6-year-old child. He is not worth you adoring him. Chongsheng, you are mature, and I hope that you will prioritize the bigger picture. Gu Shijiu rubbed the inner corners of her eyebrows and cut Yu Hangzhenren's nagging off. Jinren, you have misunderstood. I do not have any special feelings for him. He is still a child, how will I hold such an intention towards him? She would not do such a thing. Gu Shijiu looked at Yu Hangjinren sincerely and continued, I only appreciate him for his talent, and would like to help him with his training, so that his external abilities can improve. Yu Hangjinren was dubious. You want to help him with his training? How are you going to help? Why would you have such an intention? From how you guys spoke to each other that day, it seemed like that was your first time seeing each other, and I have never heard Nianma mention you beforehand as well. Gu Shijiu had such proficient external abilities, with such great capabilities. Had Shin Nianma known her beforehand, he would have mentioned her. Yu Hangzhenren's had incessant questions, while Gu Shijiu only answered in 7 words. I only appreciate him for his talents. Yu Hangjinren was speechless. What do you mean by appreciating him for his talents? I think it is just love at first sight. And you have cracked such an excuse. Ha! Qing Luo, who had been standing there, could not help but say it aloud. Gu Shijiu landed her gaze on Qing Luo. The young lady was agitated, her face was flushed. Obviously, she saw Gu Shijiu as her rival. When the young lady got jealous, she would become irrational. Hence, Gu Shijiu smiled, and on her pretty face emerged 2 dimples. You are right, it was love at first sight. He is the love of my heart, the light from the moon, and my red-colored rose. She cringed at herself as she spoke. The other apprentices in the hall were also shaken. Qing Luo was dumbfounded. The young lady was so mad that her face had turned pale. Huh, there is no use if you like him because he will never like you back. He knows that you would latch onto him, that is why he left. And he had left with Sister Jinghua. Sister Jinghua's medical skills are 1,000 times better than yours. Her master's medicinal skills are 10,000 times better than yours. Big brother does not need you to help him with his training. He has masters to teach him. Gu Shijiu turned to look at Yu Hangjinren. Should Nianma not be learning under you for 10 years? Has some other master apprenticed him already? Yu Hangjinren heaved a sigh. Nianma is extremely smart. Within a matter of 5 years, he had learned everything that I could teach him. He is only coming back this time to bid his goodbye. Yesterday, Fengxing's apprentice, Guan Jinghua, came to fetch him, and after having his farewell meal, he left with Guan Jinghua. Gu Shijiu was in disbelief. The little fella had tricked her. Which means she allowed herself to be apprenticed to a master for no reason. After giving off a sigh, she turned and left. Spiritual Master Yu Hang was stunned. He never expected her to leave so decisively. He quickly said, "Chongsheng, you promised that you would join my apprenticeship." Gu Shijiu paused. She turned back and smiled. "Master, I have already praised you. However, I did not promise to stay in Mountain Wujie. Well, please take care of yourself. I have to go now." She arched her hand and walked away. Spiritual Master Yu Hang was stunned. In the past 2 years, there had been many girls chasing after his baby apprentice. However, no one chased after him so openly like Gu Shijiu. Her intention was clear, it was all about Shin Yinma. If Shin Yinma were here, she would stay. Otherwise, she would leave. She did not even want to pretend for the sake of keeping the peace. Who was Shin Yinma to her? What was Mountain Wujie to her? Spiritual Master Yu Hang had lived in this world for so long, and it was the first time he was ignored in such a manner. He was not happy, and his face turned serious. "Chongsheng, as my disciple, you cannot come and leave freely as you like." He flicked his finger, and the door of the hall slammed shut. Spiritual Master Yu Hang was a first-class master in this continent, his accomplishment spells is of the highest order. Even Divine Lord, Shinjiuli, often praised him. Otherwise, Shinjiuli would not let his precious son worship him and be his apprentice. He had been practicing for 2,000 years, and his spiritual power was already at the 6th level of a mighty immortal. It was already a top-notch existence in this Saha world. Such a person always had a strong aura. When they were in a jovial state, it was not visible. However, when they were serious, the atmosphere around them would feel frozen. Some weaker disciples could even struggle to breathe. Everyone could not help but take a few steps back and hold their breath. The disciples with weaker skills were already pale due to the immense pressure, and their hearts were pumping very rapidly. Gu Shijiu slowly turned back. She raised her eyebrows and looked at Spiritual Master Yu Hang. "Are you going to make me stay forcibly?" Her expression was very calm, and her clothes were fluttering. The intense aura of Spiritual Master Yu Hang seemed to have no impact on her. "Chongsheng, you are now my apprentice and not a guest," Spiritual Master Yu Hang said sternly. "Since you are my disciple, I have the right to control you and prevent you from leaving the mountain. You have to stay on the mountain." Emotions were controlling this outstanding little girl. As her master, he had an obligation to bring her back to the right path. She should not make any more mistakes. Gu Shijiu looked down and sighed softly. Her voice was cold. "By right, it should be the case. It seems like if I always recognize you as my master, I can't freely go down the mountain. That being the case, I am sorry, Spiritual Master Yu Hang, I can only expel myself from your apprenticeship. I can't worship you as my teacher anymore." Spiritual Master Yu Hang was speechless. The other disciples were shocked too. It was the first time in such a long life. Most of the time, they only heard that the master had to expel a disciple from their apprenticeship, never the other way around. The face of Spiritual Master Yu Hang was dark. "Chongsheng, are you trying to be a traitor? Do you know that being a traitor in this continent is a big sin? Once a disciple betrays their apprenticeship, the lightest punishment is to abolish all the learnings from the apprenticeship and get expelled, while the heaviest punishment is to be chased and killed by the whole world. Anyone can kill and punish you." Gu Shijiu looked calm and cold. "Spiritual Master Yu Hang, I have never learned any skill from your apprenticeship. How are you going to abolish my learning?" Spiritual Master Yu Hang remained silent. He could not answer her question. Gu Shijiu flicked her finger. Gu Shijiu continued speaking casually, "As for having the whole world chase me, do you think I will be afraid of it?" Spiritual Master Yu Hang sensitively grasped the meaning behind her words. "Who are you?" It did not sound like a sentence that should be asked of a little girl. Gu Shijiu smirked. She made a turn, and a colorful light flashed. She restored her original appearance. The clothes she wore this time could be changed according to her size. Thus, this time, there was no pressure to restore the original body. As her body was changing, she quickly put on new robes from her storage space. She completed those tasks at lightning speed. After the colorful light flashed, a person wearing a dark purple gown could be seen with a mask. Even though Gu Shijiu did not talk, her aura was quite compelling. Spiritual Master Yu Hang suddenly widened his eyes and took a few steps back. You are the woman who appeared at Nianmo's one-year-old party and gave him a bracelet? Spiritual Master Yu Hang had a profound impression about it. Therefore, when she appeared with the same outlook at the moment, Spiritual Master Yu Hang could immediately recognize her. Gu Shijiu smirked. Spiritual Master Yu Hang, can you still remember me? Spiritual Master Yu Hang was in utter shock. When Gu Shijiu delivered the gift, she turned and disappeared right away. She could enter and leave the Fantian Palace of the Divine Lord freely. Thus, it had triggered a massive discussion among the guests to guess her identity. Gu Shijiu had always visited this continent, but there was no trace of her. She was very mysterious. Usually, she lived like a normal person. However, when she attacked, it would be very striking, and most of the time, her opponents would be severely injured to the extent that even their parents could not recognize them. When people in this continent talked about her, they generally equated her with the Divine Lord and the Great Devil. They thought that she was a legend who ranked just below the Divine Lord and the Great Devil. In the eyes of the people on this continent, the status of this mysterious person was still extremely high. It was even higher than Spiritual Master Yu Hang. In fact, Spiritual Master Yu Hang had always wanted to meet her, but he was never able to find the chance. He could not locate her at all. However, he did not expect her to appear in this situation. He did not even think that the beautiful little girl was the mysterious grimace person. The other disciples who were present were also stunned and looked at her. No one could speak for a moment. Even the arrogant Qing Luo also stunned and dared not speak again. Spiritual Master Yu Hang, do you think I still need to worship you as my teacher? Spiritual Master Yu Hang was very angry. He said, of course, you don't need to worship me as your teacher. However, were you trying to fool me by transforming into a kid? No wonder that this little girl had such a high skill. Spiritual Master Yu Hang had been excited to have such a talented apprentice for 3 days. He had not been sleeping well due to the excitement. He had been looking forward to her arrival even more than the stars and moon. However, he never expected all this to unravel. Gu Shijiu said leisurely, Spiritual Master Yu Hang, you are wrong. I transformed into a little girl because I needed to enter into the tree palace to fool the guards and rescue your disciples. I did not do that to fool you. Spiritual Master Yu Hang finally understood the whole situation from his disciple. After Gu Shijiu mentioned it, he knew that Gu Shijiu was telling the truth. However, it was fine to transform into a little girl to rescue people. However, why would you say you want to worship me as your teacher using the identity of a little girl? Spiritual Master Yu Hang was not convinced. Gu Shijiu gently sighed. At that moment, I did not want to reveal my identity, so it was not convenient to restore my original appearance. As for worshipping you as my teacher, it is actually a misunderstanding. I really want to take Nianma as my disciple. However, he refused to worship me. I have my own reason to stay by his side. Therefore, I was aggrieved to join your apprenticeship to be his senior sister apprentice. Was she aggrieved to join? Spiritual Master Yu Hang's lips were shivering. He almost got choked by her words and could not breathe. Did she know that there were so many young talents in this continent that were trying to worship him as a teacher? At that time, the previous famous Crown Prince Yun Yanli also wanted to worship him as a teacher. However, due to his lower skill, he was not qualified to join his apprenticeship. Now, Gu Shijiu said that she was aggrieved to join. Nonetheless, with her capability, it was genuinely aggrieved for her to worship him as a teacher. It took him a long time to ask, you. What is your reason to stay beside Nianma? He is only a 6-year-old kid. Spiritual Master Yu Hang's voice was full of doubt. It sounded like Gu Shijiu was an old cow who likes to eat the fresh grass. It made Gu Shijiu somewhat unhappy. She stepped forward, and Spiritual Master Yu Hang immediately stepped back in alert. Nonetheless, he still wanted to protect his disciple. He tried to persuade Gu Shijiu, I think you are even older than me. Although Nianma looks like an adult, he is just a kid. Even if you can transform into a younger look, you are an experienced master. You are not suitable for Nianma. There are so many talented men of your age in this world. You should let the kid go. Gu Shijiu was speechless. The anger in her heart had triggered the mischievous cells in her. She chuckled at that last remark. Spiritual Master Yu Hang, you can rest assured. Spiritual Master Yu Hang heaved a sigh of relief, but the next sentence said by Gu Shijiu almost made him vomit blood. I do not like men of my age. I like to eat fresh grass. I will definitely want Nianma and stay by his side. I will not mistreat him and will treat him like a precious baby. After she finished the shocking sentence, Gu Shijiu naturally turned around and left freely. It left Spiritual Master Yu Hang and the remaining disciples stunned. Gu Shijiu felt rather regretful for having said those things. She said those offensive words just to make Spiritual Master Yu Hang feel frustrated. However, she did not expect this to be spread to the public. When Gu Shijiu woke up at the inn and had lunch in the cafe, she suddenly realized that she had become the topic of discussion for everyone. She was furious with it. Hey, have you heard? The mysterious grimace person has eyed on the son of the Divine Lord and the Great Devil, Shin Nianma. She personally came to Mount Wujie to look for him. She even transformed into a little girl and wanted to stay with him. Well, I also heard that. The mysterious grimace person should be thousands of years old. She actually likes a kid. Her taste is so strange. I know, right? I heard that the mysterious grimace person has a scary face. No one could differentiate her gender. No one actually dared to approach her. And, now she has eyes on little Nianma. She not only used a bracelet to constrain him, now she even announced that she wants to marry little Nianma at Mount Wujie. She would kill anyone who blocks her. That poor kid. His parents are not around at this moment. It will be a miserable moment for him, sigh. I agree with you. It is really a disaster. Countless rumors poured into Gu Zijia's ears, which made her repent her action. Was it possible for her to turn back time and take back the words she had uttered? It was making her miserable. She sat alone in the room. While listening to the rumors outside, she took a look at the mirror. The woman in the mirror looked like a flower. Her skin was as delicate as a baby's, bright as the flowers that bloomed in the spring. She looked young and youthful. Why did they refer to her as an ugly old lady? Humph. They actually said that she looked scary. Frankly speaking, there were not many ladies that looked as good as her on this continent. No one dared to pursue her. That was because of her high vision and the fact that she did not like anyone. If she were really interested, she could just show a little interest and there would many men waiting to marry her. Gu Shijiu silently complained in her heart. It was the little man, Shin Nianmo's fault. Although he was so young, he was also very cunning. Because of him, she was now infamous on this side of the planet. Sadly, she thought that she treated Shin Nianmo quite well. They had cooperated to take down the enemy and even find a cure for his juniors. It was a pleasant experience. Why would he suddenly become so arrogant? In fact, Gu Shijiu had spent a night wondering how to find Shin Nianmo. She knew the temperament of Master Fengxing. The medical skills of this man were unique, but his personality was equally strange. He was a famous guardian who treated his disciples better than his own son. He would not accept disciples easily either. Once he accepts a disciple, he would treat them wholeheartedly. His own disciples were always the best. They were all geniuses who came from noble families. If his disciples were bullied, he would seek revenge for them that would be far worse than what they received. He was always biased toward his own disciples and would do anything for them. Once he accepted someone as a disciple, it was impossible for others to grab from him or her. It was even more difficult than digging out his heart. Moreover, he had a rule. The disciples under his apprenticeship must not have a romantic relationship before they finished their learning. If an affair were discovered, he would not hesitate to separate them. Coincidentally, Gu Shijiu had just offended his 2 taboos. In fact, Gu Shijiu only offended one. She really wanted to grab his disciple from him, but she had never wanted to form a romantic relationship with Shin Nianma. However, after this rumor had circulated, Master Fengxing would definitely put her at the top on his blacklist. What role could she use to find Shin Nianma again? She could not use her original appearance, and could not transform into a little girl. It was because it had been stated in the rumor that she used to turn into a little girl to approach Shin Nianma and tried to be his senior sister apprentice. Therefore, Master Fengxing would definitely be prepared and would never accept new disciples that seemed like her. Would it be a good idea to break into the mountain to steal him away? Master Fengxing was famous for medical skill, but his other aspects were still not very strong. Although there would probably be robust mechanisms in his mountain, Gu Shijiu was also an expert in solving mechanisms. She was confident in her abilities. However, she was afraid that even with all that effort, the arrogant boy would not want to go with her. Gu Shijiu took out the directed audio spell from her storage space. Should she try to contact him again to explain her sincerity to help him practice? Gu Shijiu made up her mind to take a try. This time once she switched on the spell, it was picked up right away by the person at the other side. Shin Nianma was cold. Shijiu? Anything? His sound was actually very soft. Gu Shijiu was now pleased. She thought that he still did not want to pick up her calls. It was good that he picked it up. She was prepared to fight a long battle with him, but after she heard his voice, she quickly took the chance to convince him. She coughed a little, and tried to explain, Nianma. Suddenly, the directed audio spell was disconnected. All the words that Gu Shijiu had prepared to say were stuck in her throat. She looked at the disconnected note in stunned silence. Why was it disconnected? Was it broken? She could not help but check the directed audio spell. However, she did not find any problem. She thought for a moment and dialed again. This time, the spell did not even connect. But just when Gu Shijiu thought that the other party would not pick up, he finally picked up, but this time, he was a lot colder. What do you want? Gu Shijiu was speechless. She rubbed her eyebrows and finally realized. Fui, why are you looking for me? Are you going to confess your feelings? Shin Nianma was obviously frustrated. Gu Shijiu asked, did you hear those rumors already? Rumors? Are you referring the rumor about you running to Mount Wujie to find me? And that you want to eat fresh grass and want to stay with me? That you want to take care of me like a precious baby? Shin Nianma went quiet for a while. Gu Shijiu was not sure if he was happy or upset. All she could tell was that he had heard, most of the words spoken were her own. Who was this big mouth? Gu Shijiu tried to cool down and speak sincerely. In fact, I said those words to make your master angry. They were not true. You can rest assured that I have absolutely no feelings toward you. You are still young, and I am not a pervert. Even if you were an adult, I have no interest in you. I just want to teach you and help you develop. I do not have any selfish intention. If she could have a video call with Shin Nianma, Gu Shijiu would definitely let him see the sincerity in her eyes. There was a moment of silence, followed by a chuckle. What you said is all fake. She could not hear the anger from his voice, but Gu Shijiu rubbed her forehead again. That was to make your junior female apprentice angry, so they were just nonsenses but have created such a big discussion in the town. She did not expect that it would be the topic of the day in just a night. I am sorry. Gu Shijiu sincerely apologized. Whether she did it deliberately or not, she had caused trouble to the other party. Why did you say sorry? Shin Nianmo's tone was unpredictable. This time, My anger has caused trouble for you. Rest assured, I will find the right time to explain the matter in public, to let everyone know that I do not want to eat fresh grass. Gu Shizhou guaranteed. To get this boy to meet her objective, she could do anything and really put down her status to apologize. There was no sound at the other end. Gu Shizhou felt that it was difficult to get her message across through the directed audio. She asked, Fui, where are you? I want to see you. Let's meet and talk. I have nothing to say to you. Don't look for me again. I am not interested in accompanying you or learning from you. He hung up the directed audio spell. Gu Shizhou was speechless. She felt that it was indeed big trouble for her now. Gu Shizhou never thought that it would be so hard to train someone. She sat there for a moment and then dialed back unrelentingly. She dialed a dozen times in a row, but he did not pick up any of her calls. Apparently, the kid had made up his mind to ignore her. Little Tsung, can you tell me what should I do next? Gu Shizhou knocked on the bracelet on her wrist. The firmament stone had been strangely quiet recently, it was as if each word uttered out of its mouth was worth gold. In the past, it always liked to nag around her ears, but lately, it seemed like it was running out of battery. Even on the rare occasion that it did speak, it kept its explanations brief. Master, you can do it. TSK. If the other party did not buy in at all, what else she could do? She could not kidnap him and forcibly teach him martial arts, right? This kid was very rebellious. Even if she captured him, if he insisted on not learning or practicing, she could not do anything. She could not put a knife on his neck and force him to practice, right? Little Tsung, I want to give up. Gu Shizhou was a little bit depressed. Master, don't. It was rare that this time the firmament stone actually talked more. You can do it. There is nothing you can't solve in this world. This should not beat you, right? Master, think about Mr. Huang too. His resurrection is totally dependent on you. Gu Shizhou lowered her eyes. Yes, she did for the sake of Huang too, the person who had been good to her wholeheartedly. For his resurrection, this was totally worth it. She finally regained her spirits. She first looked at the muscle and Lu Wu, who were eating the food in front of the table. After these two beasts sent the kids back home according to her instructions, they came back to look for Gu Shizhou. To reward them, Gu Shizhou had ordered a tableful of food that were their favorite dishes. The muscle liked to gossip. While it was eating, it was also listening to Gu Shizhou. At this moment, it interrupted, Master, what is so difficult? You should just break into the clan of Master Fengxing and catch that little guy. You can keep him with you and slowly teach him. Never let him go if he is not willing to learn and only release him when he is willing to learn. Lu Wu shook its tail. Yes. Master, let's do this. It would be more straightforward to do it this way. Gu Shizhou took a breath, and she tapped the table with her fingers. All right. If it does not work through the soft way, we try the hard way. Gu Shizhou and her two beasts sounded like a group of bandits that were about to commit a crime. The firmament stone was speechless and raised its objection. I am afraid that it would not work through the hard work for this guy. Master, have you ever heard the saying, suffering makes people grow up, and their ups and downs make them more aggressive? The life of Fui is too smooth now. You might as well create some trouble for him, let him try to solve it. Since he does not want to worship you as a teacher and doesn't want to let you teach him martial arts, then you just be his opponent. A decent opponent can also force him to grow up. This was a good idea. Gu Zijia's eyes lit up. She raised her hand and tapped on the firmament stone. Little Tsung, you are a genius. I will try to persuade him once again. If it's really unsuccessful, I will just become his biggest rival and give him a lot of hard times. Do you want to persuade him personally? Do you know where he is? I know. If I estimated correctly, he should be in the Fengyun Valley of Master Fengxing. I think he is now attending the reception feast of his new junior apprentices. Gu Shizhou had such speculation because she had faintly heard some voices and noise during the conversation with him earlier. Shen Nianma was indeed in the Fengyun Valley, and indeed attending the feast. Although Master Fengxing did not have many disciples, the ones he had were all elites. Although Master Fengxing did not have many disciples, they were all notable elites. Each of them was much older than him. The youngest one was still 10 years older. Guan Jinhua, who took him into the valley, was a beautiful girl who was 28 years old. Guan Jinhua was very talented in medicine. She was already famous at a young age because of her charm and personality, which was lively and bold. She was the favorite disciple of Master Fengxing, as well as the sweetheart of her senior brother disciples. Many would start falling in love around this age, hence, there were plenty of senior brother apprentices always around her. However, given the strict rules of Master Fengxing, no one dared to make a move on her and claimed only to be protecting her. They were willing to wait for the time when she completed her studies so that they could start pursuing her. Guan Jinhua naturally understood the minds of her senior brother apprentices, but she never revealed anything to them and enjoyed the attention she received. She seemed to be sweet but also ruthless to everyone. This made the unmarried brothers restless and even more interested in her. Although Guan Jinhua liked being wooed by the male apprentices, she had never been impressed by anyone. She always felt that these brothers were still not worthy of getting her. She even thought that no one in this world could deserve her until she met Shen Nianma. He was only a 6-year-old child, but he had the most charming looks, especially when he smiled. Guan Jinhua simply could not resist. She spent time with Shen Nianma but quickly realized that he was not as enthusiastic as the other senior brother apprentices. Instead, he was somewhat cold to her. Nonetheless, she was attracted to him. She felt that every single move he made was perfect. It undoubtedly made her heart skip a few beats. Of course, she did not dare to reveal her feelings. She worried that if she got rejected, she would not even be friends with him. Thus, she preferred for them to remain as good friends. Although Shen Nianma was the youngest among them, he still did not recognize any person as his senior apprentice. He would only do so if they had more exceptional abilities than him. Shen Nianma's knowledge in the field of medicine was unparalleled, none of his seniors could match him. Hence, after a round of trials, Shen Nianma had become the senior brother apprentice of these people. Tonight, it was the initiation banquet thrown for Shen Nianma. The tables were full of wines and dishes which included material from the sea, the sky, and the land. Each dish was highly nutritious and useful for improving one's spiritual power. Everyone around the table laughed and cheered through the lively and crowded night. During the party, some people talked about the gossip that they had just heard. Apparently, Master Fengxing had received a letter from spiritual Master Yu Hang to warn him about the mysterious grimace-faced woman. Initially, the people were still doubtful of the rumors, but now, after their master received the letter, they naturally believed it. The reaction from the audience was somewhat mixed. Though they felt it was rather laughable, they were also infuriated by the news. How could an older woman fall for a 6-year-old kid? It was really inappropriate. Shen Nianma was no ordinary kid, though. He had a unique identity. He was the son of the Divine Lord and the Great Devil. Both spiritual Master Yu Hang and Master Fengxing valued him a lot. They certainly could not let anything bad happen to him, they could never explain it to his parents when they returned. Therefore, they were extremely concerned about his affairs. Master Fengxing looked at Shen Nianma and asked him, "Nianma, is spiritual Master Yu Hang correct? The mysterious grimace person transformed into a little girl to get near to you? She even wanted to join spiritual Master Yu Hang's apprenticeship and be your sister apprentice?" Shen Nianma was stunned but did not deny. Yes. Master Fengxing looked at Shen Nianma rather seriously. This new disciple seemed too enchanting and attracted people of all ages. How does she look like? One of the brother apprentices was curious. I heard that she looks ugly and that people can't even differentiate if she is a man or a woman. Really? I heard that the little girl she transformed into was stunning. That is an illusion, naturally, it will look beautiful. However, it is not her true appearance. I heard that when she appeared in her real identity, she would always wear a scary mask and refuse to reveal her face. She must be ugly. It's hard to say, perhaps she is a beautiful lady. Guan Jinhua, who had been quietly listening, could not help but laugh. She must be ugly. Her tone was filled with an air of arrogance. All eyes fell on Guan Jinhua, waiting for her to explain. Guan Jinhua smiled. I am a woman, so I understand women. If a woman has an attractive appearance and is also talented, she will not hide her original appearance. Why would someone hide their beauty? Trust me, if she is a beautiful lady, she will definitely try to let people see her face. It was apparent that Guan Jinhua was describing herself. Every time she went out, she showed her authentic appearance. She would also dress beautifully because she liked the feeling of being praised. It made her feel like a princess. It was said that women knew women best. After Guan Jinhua explained her thoughts, more than half of the people present believed her words. Some people could not help but make fun of the grimace-faced woman. Perhaps there is chicken skin and hair behind her mask. It is possible. Someone then asked Shen Nianma, eldest brother apprentice, have you seen her original appearance? Is it scary? Shen Nianma had been sitting at the table and drinking quietly. When he heard the question, he faintly glanced at the person who asked it. It is not scarier than your face. The man had a big head and small body. His facial features were also rather flat, and his lips were unnaturally prominent. He looked quite like a caveman. He could often scare people when he went out, hence, Shen Nianma definitely struck a sensitive spot which made the man speechless. Guan Jinhua was excited by this reply. She chuckled and added, even if she does not look scary, it must be true that she is not beautiful. Shen Nianma raised his hand and drank from his glass of wine. He spoke rather calmly, she is more beautiful than you. Guan Jinhua was speechless. What he said had hurt her pride. Everyone remained silent. They were surprised that he defended the mysterious grimace person. Master Fengxing looked at Shen Nianma in deep thought. When he was about to ask something, the directed audio spell beside Shen Nianma's waist lit up. Shen Nianma was holding his glass of wine at the time and sipped it slowly. However, when the directed audio spell lit up, his fingers went stiff, and some of the wine spilled out of his glass. He immediately put down the glass and said, "Excuse me." He turned around and went out. He seemed to dash out of the room. Everyone looked at each other in surprise. When Shen Nianma first arrived, he was always calm and quiet. This was the first time everyone saw him being so hurried. Guan Jinhua bit her lips and pondered for a moment. After a while, she turned around and went out. She saw Shen Nianma standing at the corner of the hall, holding a device in his hand and talking to someone. His voice was clear and sounded explicit joyful. There was candlelight shone on his body, exposing his tall and straight figure. Because the chatty voices behind Guan Jinhua, she could not really hear what Shen Nianma had said. Hence, she could not help but walk 2 steps forward. From a closer distance, Guan Jinhua managed to capture a bit of the conversation. She faintly heard Shen Nianma said, "You don't have to look for me again. I'm not interested in accompanying you for the mission." Then, Shen Nianma hung up the call and turned around. He saw Guan Jinhua standing not far behind him. The atmosphere around him was cold. When he stared at her, Guan Jinhua felt like a glass of ice water drenched her heart. She was nervous and smiled awkwardly. "Senior brother apprentice, who is it?" Shen Nianma stared at her. "Do I have a duty to tell you when I talk to someone?" His words were piercingly cold. Guan Jinhua remained silent. She had been walking along with Shen Nianma and stayed by his side the whole day. He was quite a gentleman to her all the while. However, in such a short period, he had been rude to her twice. Her self-esteem was a little bit hurt. When she wanted to say something more, Shen Nianma had passed her and entered the hall. This young man was in a bad mood. Why? He looked rather pleased when he received a call via the directed audio spell. Why did his mood change so fast after a few minutes of talking? Who was the other party? What did they talk about? Shen Nianma was such a good person. The woman who chased after him must be more than the fishes in a river. Who could disturb his emotions so much? There were many questions in Guan Jinhua's mind, but no one could answer them aside from Shen Nianma. The banquet was supposed to run until late into the night, but Shen Nianma excused himself, telling the rest that he was tired, hence, he left the hall in advance. Since he had left, there was no reason to continue to the party. Therefore, Master Fengxing pondered for a moment and then asked Guan Jinhua to stay and dismissed the rest of his disciples. Master Fengxing asked Guan Jinhua about what happened when she picked Shen Nianma up. Guan Jinhua had stayed in Mountain Wujie for a day, so she had heard some gossips. She heard about the story of Ren Chongsheng and Shen Nianmo rescuing the young children. Qing Luo brought it up when they casually chatted. Qing Luo had always disliked Ren Chongsheng, so when she talked about it, she added a lot of exaggeration that was unfavorable to Ren Chongsheng. At that time, Guan Jinhua felt that Ren Chongsheng was a cunning girl. However, when she knew that she was the mysterious grimace person, she added a lot of other unfavorable things when she storied to Master Fengxing. The more Master Fengxing listened, the tighter his eyebrows knitted. As far as he knew, although this mysterious grimace person was not very close to the people in this world, she was still very powerful. She had never failed to get what she wanted. If she really had an eye on Shen Nianma, it was going to be very troublesome. It was rare for Shen Nianma to skip practice and lay down in bed leisurely. The directed audio spell in his waist still lighted up once every few seconds. Apparently, that person had not given up on him yet and still tried to convince him. He closed his eyes, did not want to pick up. It was meaningless to pick up. He knew that the conversation would be still the same as what they had talked about previously. In fact, he did not know what feelings he had towards Gu Shijiu. When she wore her mask, he had been tortured by her before, and he seemed to hate her. However, she was also Ren Chongsheng, as well as the big sister who sent him home when he was a kid. Over the past few years, there were many women around him who fancied him. However, he had never had any feelings towards them and did not even care about them. But the three women who Gu Shijiu transformed into gave him different kinds of feelings. He instinctively wanted to get close to her, and wanted to hold her hand. He wanted to hug her, even when she was with him. He would be inexplicably excited, and there was a desire from his body. Although Shen Nianma was only 6 years old, his body had already grown entirely as an adult, and his attitude was also like an adult. He naturally understood what this desire meant. However, he did not know why he had this feeling for her. He hoped that she would care for him and like him. He was excited just thinking about her. However, this good mood disappeared after receiving her directed audio, as he found out that he was only part of her mission, and she just treated him as a child. It was hard to imagine that someone like her would pick up such a task. Who was the person who gave her the task? Who could influence her to train a young kid? Which bastard dared to push her like this? He looked at the spell, and it finally stopped flashing. It seemed like she finally gave up. He was relieved and disappointed at the same time. He was lying on his side and pondered about the situation. Based on Gu Zijia's character, she had not given up yet. She would definitely try to find him. This thought gave him mixed feelings. He felt that he did not want to be found by her but actually hoped that she would come. He rejected her purely because he wanted her to understand that he did not want to be part of her mission. Obviously, Shen Nianma was in a dilemma now. She was much older than him. In fact, it seemed that she was of the same generation as his parents. Although she could probably be able to train him, it was actually quite annoying that she continued to look for him just to complete her mission. However, he could not let her go even though he did want to be involved in any romantic relationship so early. He suddenly remembered the flower bouquet that was thrown when his parents got married. At that time, the flower bouquet was accepted by Gu Shijiu, and Gu Shijiu had accidentally hit him with it. Yi Tianli had joked with him and said that it was the start of his life of romance. He did not understand that during that time. Now when he recalled this, he was a bit shocked. Was it true that he was fated to be with Gu Shijiu? Was she his better half? Shen Yanma was shocked by his own thoughts. Another directed audio spell at his waist suddenly lit up. His heart moved, he picked up, and a voice came from the other side. Brother Fui, I have traced the place where the young palace master stays. The sun was warm. It was the most vibrant moment in the morning. Generally, when someone wanted to stay hidden, he or she would choose to move around at night. It was the best time for sin. As everyone knew that thieves had this inclination, many secret places were not allowed to be visited and had tighter security at night. This time, Gu Shizhou went against the norm. She chose the most unlikely time to kidnap someone from the Fengyun Valley. It had been 2 days since she talked to Shen Yanma. The reason why she did not come on the same day was that she felt that she had to leave some time for Shen Yanma to reflect on matters. After all, he just entered the apprenticeship, and there were many things to be processed. The second reason was that she felt that her face was not as thick as she thought. She wanted to calm her mind to make sure that she had the right attitude to come. After all, after she came to see the little guy, things would not go as smoothly as she would prefer. The little guy would undoubtedly reject her, so she had to try to convince him. If he insisted not to go with her, she would just take the idea of the muscle and kidnap him. There were various security mechanisms in the Fengyun Valley. They were all designed by the most powerful mechanism expert of this continent. Without the lead by people inside, the average person would definitely not able to come in. However, Gu Shizhou was no average person. Those mechanisms could not stop her at all. Thus, in less than half an hour, she had entered into the Fengyun Valley. When she was about to ask the muscle to find Shen Yanma, she was surrounded. Those people emerged from all sides. Gu Shizhou stopped. She had very sharp eyes and was able to recognize the 10 leaders of the group. They were the previous, current, and future masters of Shen Yanma. Shen Jiuli and his wife had left the mainland for something. They were worried about their son, so before they left, they found these 10 masters for their son. During Shen Yanma's birthday, Gu Shizhou hid in the dark and saw Shen Yanma meeting with the 10 masters. Afterward, she also investigated these 10 masters. They were the best leaders in the upper bound and had achieved outstanding achievements in one aspect. Up to now, Shen Yanma had trained under 2 of these masters, Spiritual Master Yu Hang and Master Fengxing. He had not gone to the other 8 masters yet, but somehow the 10 of them had appeared together. There were men and women, old and young, ugly and handsome. The 10 people had clearly coordinated to ambush Gu Shizhou. They had sealed all the possible exits. You came. This was the first sentence that Spiritual Master Yu Hang uttered. Pridefully, he continued, I had guessed correctly. Master Fengxing looked like an angry pug with a deep hatred toward Gu Shizhou. I have heard that you actually like a kid and might come to kidnap him. At first, I didn't really believe it, but now it seems that it is true. I don't think you are young anymore. You should be much older than Shen Yanma. Why would you want to be so stubborn? Yanma is not the one for you. You appeared at the birthday party of Yanma, so you should know his true identity. Is it because of his parents that you want to be with him? Let me tell you that the Divine Lord and the Great Devil would absolutely forbid someone to scheme their son. Yes, although they are not there, he has us here, and we will never let you touch Yanma at all. You have been traveling on this continent. Although you have been masked and do not let people see your true face, you are still very famous. Before this incident, everyone paid a lot of respect to you. Why would you be obsessed with him and destroy your own reputation? Gu Shizhou remained quiet while the 10 masters had accused her and threatened her. Gu Shizhou simply folded her arms and listened silently. There was a mask on her face, so everyone did know what her expression was. They could not even guess her thoughts by just observing her posture. Gu Shizhou was very well-mannered. She did not like to interrupt when someone was speaking. However, when she stood there coldly, she emitted a faint aura which made people feel cold. Have you all finished talking? After they uttered their opinions, Gu Shizhou finally opened her mouth. If I tell you that I have no intention to court Shen Yanma and just want to complete a task to help him practice, will you believe me? Ha! Someone laughed, and it was not only one person who sneered. There were elites from all clans who formed a circle not too far away to surround her. I think you are trying to give an excuse because so many people have surrounded you. Where is the courage you had when you were rude in Mount Wujie? Many people heard what you said there. You can't deny it. It was Qing Luo's voice. Gu Shizhou was able to spot her at a glance. She had a noticeable smile on her face. Gu Shizhou had saved this little girl's life. She was so envious that she did not even appreciate the kind gesture. When I said that in the Mount Wujie, it was just to piss you all off because of the nonsense that you accused me of. None of it was true. Gu Shizhou explained lazily. Everyone obviously did not believe her. Someone asked, "Can this matter be discussed so freely? If you have no such ambiguous intentions for him, why did you transform into a little girl to stay by Nianmo's side? You even wanted to join the apprenticeship of spiritual master Yu Hang just to be with him. When you reached Mount Wujie and found that Nianma was not there, you immediately refused to worship your master and left promptly. You have now even secretly sneaked into the Fengyun Valley. Evidently, you are here for Nianma. How do you explain all these facts? As I said, I only want to help him to practice until he becomes a mighty immortal. I am here to accelerate his progress." "Ha, do you mean to take him as your disciple?" "Why not? This was actually her plan in the first place." "Nonsense. If an elder wants to accept him as a disciple, why would he or she put in so much effort? Obviously, you are trying to quibble since you are surrounded." "Yes, you are right. She is trying to quibble. This woman's intentions will never be so simple. And her background is also very strange. She does not even dare to reveal her true appearance and always hides behind a mask. She must be hiding an ugly face. Is she a follower of the biggest enemy of the Divine Lord, Luo Jiuchen? Is she trying to catch Nianma to take revenge? It is possible." There were different opinions thrown around, and the entire situation grew more complicated. It sounded more and more like a conspiracy. These people were generally stubborn, so it would be hard to change their minds. Anyway, they were trying to find fault with her, so whatever she said would always be misinterpreted. Gu Shizhou naturally understood this theory, so she did not want to explain herself. In the past few days, she had been hiding in anger. However, after listening to these people, she felt that the entire situation was overblown. Thus she decided to resolve it once and for all. She flicked her nails and said lazily again, "It seems that no matter how I explain, you will think that I like Nianma, a young kid. Well, since you all have thought so, if I don't admit it, it would be a waste. I will announce it here. I will definitely want Nianma in the future. I will take him to my side as a young husband. I will let me be the king of my clan." This stone stirred up 1,000 waves. Her rebellious words had shocked everyone. There were curses and jeers from the crowd. There were numerous criticisms and condemnation towards Gu Shizhou. When the muscle listened to them mocking its master, it almost went crazy. However, when Gu Shizhou and Shin Nianma were in the tree palace, Lu Wu and the muscle were sending the children back home, and they were not by her side. Furthermore, when Gu Shizhou said those angry words in Mount Wujie, the muscle and Lu Wu had not returned yet, and they did not know the real situation. Therefore, it did not dare to interrupt. Mir sat there red-faced. Its clamshell continued to open and close. It could not wait to swallow all these people in front of it so that they could not make any more noise here. When it heard these people claiming that Gu Shizhou was ugly, it finally broke out, "Nonsense. You are all talking nonsense. My master is the most beautiful lady in the world. She is even more beautiful than all of you together. Do you think she is eager to marry? Let me tell you, people are queuing up to marry her. Open your blind eyes and look properly. Master, take off your mask and show them your true appearance. I'm sure they will be shocked." Certainly, nobody believed what the muscle just said, hence, it received a wave of mockery in return. Of course, there were those who supported it too. Si Qing had a very complicated feeling as he initially had a special feeling toward Ren Chongsheng, however, she suddenly turned into a secretive masked character. In fact, he could not accept it, hence, he decided to hide in the crowd and watch the scene. However, while listening to all the curses, he could not hold back anymore. She is not ugly. She was gorgeous when she was Ren Chongsheng. Without any surprise, he got mocked by the crowd. Do you think that is real? Everyone here is immortal, and we know how to disguise ourselves, hence, it cannot prove anything. She should show her true appearance if she has the guts. Yes. Spiritual Lord Yunlong is an expert of disguises, and he can differentiate if it is genuine. Is she willing to reveal her true appearance? Knock. Knock. The arguments halted when the sound of 2 knocks was heard. It was not very loud, but it sufficed to catch their attention. Everyone quickly shifted their gaze to the direction of sound only to find that Gu Shijiu was leaning against the mussel and she was knocking on its shell with her knuckles. Do you really want to see my appearance or you are afraid of me kidnapping the little boy? Do you really think it is meaningful to argue over this? The crowd went silent. Gu Shijiu crossed her arms in front of her chest. Stop bullsh asterisk ting, just by looking at your drama, I'm sure cursing me is not enough for you. Just tell me what you want and stop wasting my time. She started to blast the crowd, and her aura was so much stronger than the 10 clan masters. Apparently, she was running out of patience. Gu Shijiu was the one and only person who could remain calm even when the 10 clan masters surrounded her. All their disciples were extremely angry, yet, they also respected her. The 10 clan masters tried to catch her with many different strategies. Even the Celestial Emperor, who was once the god of warriors, did not even dare to simply fight against the 10 clan masters as he used to pay very high respect to them. Yet, although 10 clan masters surrounded Gu Shijiu, she did not bother to compromise. All 10 clan masters were stunned by her arrogance, however, they were not afraid of Gu Shijiu since they were well prepared before they came. Thus, they proposed a few conditions. Their terms and conditions were extremely harsh. They wanted Gu Shijiu to promise that she would never see Shen Nianma for the rest of her life. Otherwise, she would be arrested and imprisoned for a few hundred years, until Shen Nianma turned into an adult or until he becomes a mighty immortal or a great deity. Gu Shijiu simply smiled. She hated to be threatened even as a child, what more when she was so experienced and powerful now. Oops. I cannot do that. I want him to be my husband. How could we not see each other for the rest of my life? I cannot promise you those terms. The crowd remained silent. In other words, the negotiation failed. Therefore, the 10 clan masters decided not to be courteous anymore. They moved to their respective locations and surrounded Gu Shijiu once Master Fengxing signaled them. A battle was about to start. It seemed inevitable despite spiritual master Yu Hang trying to negotiate with Gu Shijiu as a way to repay her kindness before. I don't think you are an evil person, you saved my disciples before, and I am grateful. Why do you need to be so stubborn? Listen to me, stay away from Nianma, Gu Shijiu interrupted him with a hiss. Oh, yeah. I almost forgot about it. I was just being kind, but I did not expect to save an ungrateful person. I'm so upset now. Right after she said she was upset, she suddenly teleported. When the crowd managed to locate her, she was already beside Qing Luo. Qing Luo did not manage to see Gu Shijiu clearly but only felt a sudden gust of wind blowing at her. Abruptly, she felt a sharp pain at her fingertip, as if she was bitten by something. She screamed and immediately pulled her hand away, only to find 2 tiny holes on her fingertip with pinkish blood dripping off her finger. Cherry blossom snake. She was bitten by a cherry blossom snake again. She felt pain in every part of her body to the extent she had cold sweat dripping from her forehead. Eventually, she felt numb and started rolling on the ground in agony. Everything happened too quickly. No one expected that the Grimace Lady could escape from the trap set by the 10 clan masters and even hurt someone. By the time they were ready to react, it was already too late. The 10 clan masters were trying to stop her from escaping. Most immortals had the habit of escaping by air. To their surprise, she teleported downward and succeeded. Spiritual Master Yu Hang immediately leaped down to the ground. He quickly checked on Qing Luo and furiously glared at Gu Shijiu. "What did you do?" Gu Shijiu flicked her fingernails. "I was the one who helped her to remove the venom, but I regret it now. So, I let the snake bite her again. I guess we do not owe each other now. I would not feel upset if she attacks me now." Spiritual Master Yu Hang was speechless. The crowd also remained silent. Right at that moment, a red light flashed across the sky. A creature with 9 glowing red tails appeared in front of Gu Shijiu. Its big watery eyes were adorable enough to seduce anyone there. Yes, it was Lu Wu. "Report to Master, I've searched every single corner, but Shen Yanma is not in the valley." It was only then that the crowd realized that Gu Shijiu had got Lu Wu to search the place when she first arrived. The reason she was willing to talk so much to the people was just to wait for the news from Lu Wu. Since Shen Yanma was not there, she would leave empty-handed. She felt somewhat disappointed by the result because she allowed herself to be mocked by the crowd earlier. Gu Shijiu thought that her day was ruined. Her head tilted downward, and a sword immediately appeared in her hand. The sword was cold and sharp as if she was holding an ice sword. "You 10 old jerks, come on. Let me teach you a lesson today." Certainly, Gu Shijiu had spiced up the anger of the crowd. Therefore, a fierce battle had begun. The battle between Gu Shijiu and the 10 clan masters would be recorded in the scroll of history. It was named as the Book of Legendary Immortals. According to legend, the battle lasted for a day. The 10 clan masters used all of their knowledge and skills to catch the grimacing woman. However, they still did not manage to get her even though the entire Fengyun Valley had been destroyed. However, no party was completely dominant. Each of them suffered their losses. The mask of the grimaced woman was shattered during the battle, which exposed her true appearance. According to the record, the person was beautiful and had long black hair with gorgeous features. Many of the people were shocked and stopped fighting when they saw it. Gu Shijiu was injured in the battle. In fact, she was severely injured. She spat blood out of her mouth but still laughed creepily as she flipped her long hair. "Old jerks. I want Shen Yanma, and he'll definitely go after him. We will see how it ends." A mouthful of blood spilled on her sword. After chanting a series of spells, the sword was glowing brightly. She leaped up into the air and disappeared instantly as the sword scratched the wizardry barrier. Gu Shijiu was not a lunatic. She knew it was not a good idea to fight against so many experts and their disciples, hence, she tried to teleport away from the battle. However, she was blocked by the wizardry barriers in every direction. While battling with so many of them, Gu Shijiu also tried to figure out an alternative plan of escape. Eventually, she figured out the key to her escape and successfully teleported away in the blink of an eye. "I'll return, I'll be back for what you owe me." Everyone was in stunned silence. The grimacing woman managed to escape from the great battle, while 2 of the 10 clan masters were severely injured, and 3 of them had some minor injuries. The rest had a few bruises on their face. Master Fengxing suffered the worst losses. He was not only injured but also lost his home. Furthermore, many of his disciples were hurt. The biggest disappointment was that they did not manage to catch her even after paying such a high price. They definitely had to expect chaos in the future since Gu Shijiu managed to escape. Most of them were amazed by her beauty, hence, they were all discussing it while trying to tidy up the mess. Without any surprise, everyone naturally fixed their gaze on spiritual Lord Yunlong, as he had a pair of eyes which could identify the authenticity of all magic. It was not magic. Her appearance was real. That was enough to keep everyone quiet about her looks. In fact, thousands of people would be lining up to see her if she would take a stroll without her mask. Why does she have to hold on to Shen Yanma? Was it true love? Or did she truly need to complete her mission just like what she mentioned? Perhaps, she was instructed by someone else, but she could not disclose the truth. However, since she had such mighty kung fu, she might not even want to entertain the divine couple. Who else could be the culprit? Countless questions were lingering in their minds. Since Qing Luo was bitten by the snake again, all the disciples of spiritual master Yuhang decided to wrap her with a big bag as the poison was spreadable. Unfortunately, they could only get her soaked in ice water because no one could cure her. Since Gu Shijiu escaped, spiritual master Yuhang quickly left. After Gu Shijiu left, spiritual master Yuhang immediately visited Qing Luo. From afar, he could hear her screaming in pain. She screamed and shouted desperately, like an animal. He was a little embarrassed by her dramatic reactions, but he would not give up on his disciple so easily, so he decided to consult Master Fengxing, who was an expert in medicine, about the cure. Helplessly, Master Fengxing frowned at him. "I am afraid that there is no cure for this sort of poison." Spiritual Master Yuhang was shocked to the core. Si Qing suggested, "There is. When both of us were unfortunately affected by the cherry blossom snake poison, it was Chongsheng, the mysterious grimace woman, who saved our lives." Master Fengxing frowned. He had heard about them being affected by a kind of poison and that they were fortunately cured, so he did not pay much attention to the details of the incident. He only thought of it as a normal type of poison. Little did he know that it was actually the cherry blossom snake poison. The main problem is the base of the cure. The cure must be made from the poison of the particular snake itself. The cherry blossom snake is a rare species, so it is difficult to be captured. The chances of survival after the hunt of the snake are very slim. Moreover, it is so rare to find. How are we supposed to collect the snake and make the cure? "Once you are bitten, death is but a sure thing," he answered slowly. Spiritual Master Yuhang's expression changed upon hearing his explanation. He took a look at Qing Luo, who was critically ill with a faint breath of life. Her breathing was slow and painful due to the immense pain. Suddenly, he was lost, not knowing what to do for her. Si Qing was shocked too. He then took a small bottle out and said, "About this, it is a bottle of poison, given by our eldest senior disciple last time. I think there should be some remaining. I wonder if we can still use it." Master Fengxing immediately took the bottle from him and observed it closely. It is usable. The content is, however, too little. It is only enough to make half a portion of the cure, he swiftly concluded. Half was better than none, so spiritual Master Yuhang earnestly requested for him to make the cure as soon as possible. The urgency to rescue a life was similar to that of firefighting, where every second counted. Hence, Master Fengxing did not delay the rescue. He took the bottle and was ready to proceed. All of a sudden, there came an announcement, "The eldest senior apprentice is back." Master Fengxing's expression changed a little. Just recently, they had been busy plotting against the mysterious woman. They kept the plan away from Shen Nianma, as they were worried that he might stop it. Therefore, Master Fengxing had to play a trick by falsely announcing the whereabouts of the young palace master so that he could send Shen Nianma away. In fact, he sent him away to the third heaven. The distance from his place to the third heaven was thousands of miles apart. Even with Shen Nianmo's speed, he would only be able to make it back in at least a day. In the morning, Master Fengxing had even chatted with Shen Nianma about his situation and found out that he was still wandering in the third heaven while busy looking for the whereabouts of the young palace master. However, on the very same day, it seemed that Shen Nianma was back. Someone must have notified him, otherwise, he would not make his way back so quickly. Spiritual Master Yuhang looked at Si Qing with stern but suspicious eyes. "It was I. I told the eldest senior apprentice that the mysterious grimace woman was here," he nervously confessed. Spiritual Master Yuhang was frustrated with Si Qing. He wished he could slap him for his ludicrous mistake. The battle was already over. There were many ruins left behind by the violent fight. Blood could be seen everywhere. It was not hard to imagine how difficult the battle must have been. Shen Nianmo's face turned pale. His fingers trembled in anxiety. Luckily, he found out that Gu Shijiu was not vitally harmed from his junior apprentice's excessive discussions about the battle. She was only severely injured. He tried to calm himself down. With his directed audio spell, he decided to get in touch with her by making a call. The directed audio spell flickered continuously in his hand, but no one picked up. Anxiously, he continued to make many calls, but the result remained the same. The calls were unanswered. Was she unconscious due to the severity of her injuries? Did she lose the directed audio spell in the batter or did she destroy it? Shen Nianma took a deep breath. Then, he pulled one of his junior apprentices aside and demanded a detailed description of the battle. Tell me everything about the situation from the moment she arrived, the more details, the better. The junior was a quick-witted man with an unfailing memory. Every time he told a story, it was always very lively and vivid, beguiling his audience with many tales of adventure. He was an honest storyteller without many additional dramatic elements. He would retain the originality of his stories. He had the worst kung fu among the group, so he did not get much attention from his master. Moreover, Shen Nianmo's endless charm had completely sheltered him in the shadow. The eldest senior was always the center of attention wherever he went. Many juniors liked to surround themselves around him. Ever since Shen Nianma came to the Fengyun Valley, the junior had only managed to greet him once. Surely, he did not expect that Shen Nianma would still remember him by calling out his name. He was obviously very excited. Enthusiastically, he told Shen Nianma the entire scene from the moment Gu Shijiu arrived at the battlefield. He even used his hands to make lively gestures. From his memory, he was able to recall every detail of the fight and every conversation that happened. It was as though everything was happening again. Shen Nianma listened carefully without making any interruptions. Certainly, his junior felt a little awkward when he had to convey what Gu Shijiu had originally said during the battle. Her words, after all, would come as an insult to a man. Moreover, Shen Nianma was a proud man with high dignity. When Shen Nianma heard what she had said, he did not show any unpleasant expressions. Instead, he gave the junior a smile. For sure, the junior could not figure out how he truly felt. Men were obviously more interested in fights, so when his junior talked about the fight scenes, he sputtered on with very lively gestures. Every punch and every kick from different sides were described entirely from his point of view, giving Shen Nianma a very clear picture of how the battle was like. While Shen Nianma was busy listening to his junior's description, he would still try to activate the directed audio spell in his hand. Obviously, he was eager to get in touch with someone. Unfortunately, he received no response. The junior was bewildered by the lack of response, for he could not figure out who would dare to disrespect the eldest senior. When Master Fengxing approached them, the junior was already ending the story by quoting what Gu Shijiu said at the end. I will be back to make you all pay the price. The junior's tone sounded exactly like her. When he turned around, he was shocked to see his master standing behind him. Master Fengxing looked very unpleasant. His deeply knitted brows had created deep creases on his face. The junior retreated anxiously and greeted him before leaving swiftly. Master Fengxing turned his eyes to Shen Nianma to study him. At this moment, Shen Nianma was lying on the trunk of a tree. He neither greeted nor said a word when he saw Master Fengxing approaching. Instead, he only gave him a scornful smile. The sheer force of character from the child of 6 years old was very dominating, powerful enough even for Master Fengxing to notice his imposing manner. Moreover, he was guilty of lying to the young man. Nianma, why did you come back so early? Don't you think that you have kept me away in the dark long enough? Shen Nianma said firmly, with a smirk on his face. He did not even acknowledge him as his master this time. Nianma, I had to, it was against my will. Your parents have entrusted your safety to us. The mysterious woman bore no good intentions. I had to send you away, so she would not have the chance to kidnap you, Master Fengxing remonstrated kindly. Shen Nianma could not hold back his amusement. Why did you have to make it sound so pompous? You invited all the other masters to launch an ambush together. How awesome was that? She came alone and walked single-handedly into the battle. Even if I were present in the Fengyun Valley, how would she possibly kidnap me? Were you not confident of your ambush, or in me? Master Fengxing remained quiet. He was indeed not confident enough in Shen Nianma, for he was worried that he would be charmed by Gu Shijiu and walk away with her willingly. Nianma. Master Fengxing struggled to find his words and was interrupted before he could continue. Master, please help me to invite all my masters. I have something to say. He hesitated, but still did as told and sent his men to invite the masters. Out of the 9 masters, 2 were severely injured, but Master Fengxing had treated their injuries. Walking around would not come as a significant problem at this moment. The Fengyun Valley was very much destroyed. Almost all the buildings there were ruined. Therefore, all of them decided to gather around at the plaza. Only 3 out of all 10 masters had personally met Shen Nianma, so it was the first time for them to see his face. When Master Fengxing introduced him to the masters, they were utterly surprised that he looked like an adult. One of them had even called out his nickname. Mr. Fui. The master had an encounter with Shen Nianma before, during an exploration. They spent about half an hour together, but Shen Nianma never revealed his real identity and announced his name as Mr. Fui instead. After the encounter, the master was planning to befriend him. Little did he know that Mr. Fui would become his future disciple, Shen Nianma. At present, that master had mixed feelings about the situation. Nianma, all your masters are now present. What would you like to say? You may now speak, Master Fengxing finally said. All eyes were on Shen Nianma. His eyes swept across all his masters and commented, I would like to express my gratitude for your tireless effort. Having said that, he bowed before them. The 10 masters stared at each other in dismay, obviously at a loss for words. Spiritual Master Yu Hang had been guiding him for the past 3 years, so he spoke up, Nianma, you should address us as your masters. Shen Nianma looked at him fixedly and commented with a half-smile, chill. This is also the thing that I am about to bring up today. Utterly surprised, Spiritual Master Yu Hang could sense that something was not right. Nianma. Nianma, what are you trying to do? All of us are your father's friends. We are also your masters, assigned by your father himself, Master Fengxing continued. Shen Nianma raised his hand and said nonchalantly, my elders, please listen to me. The crowd went silent. Shen Nianma continued, have you all accepted me as your disciple because of my parents and my name? The crowd said nothing. They were willing to break their rules by sharing their disciple with other masters because of his unique identity, the son of the celestial and demon beings. Having Shen Nianma as a disciple was definitely an honor, for he was endowed with intelligence and wit. Nianma, it is not only because of your parents. We know that you are unusually intelligent, a gifted talent who learns quickly, Spiritual Master Yu Hang explained. Are you treating me as a child? About that, Nianma, you are only 6 years old, Spiritual Master Yu Hang continued. Do I look like a 6-year-old? Shen Nianma asked smilingly with his head tilted to the side, waiting for an answer. About that, Shen Nianma continued coldly, my father turned into an adult at the age of 1 and started traveling the world. When he became the Divine Lord, did you treat him like a 1-year-old? Unable to find the words, Spiritual Master Yu Hang did not answer. He had briefly heard about the story of the Divine Lord, but he did not know how old he actually was when he started traveling around the world, for he never mentioned his age. Surely, without the knowledge of his actual age, no one would treat the Divine Lord like a child when he possessed the look of a grown-up. Shen Nianma was very capable. He started building up his fame at the age of 3, the continent was well aware of his presence. Even though many people had heard about him as Mr. Fui. Spiritual Master Yu Hang watched as the child grew up, so he would always see Shen Nianma as a child. All of you have treated me differently because I am Shen Nianma. You have disregarded how I really am and treated me like a mere child by making every decision on my behalf, but, I am who I am. I have my own ways and principles. Also, I certainly do not want to be interrupted by anyone of any means, including the lies that you make to keep me in the dark because of your personal intentions. From now on, I am Di Fui, not Shen Nianma. The disciple that you want to keep is Shen Nianma, so it has nothing to do with me anymore. Therefore, I no longer wish to visit and accept your teachings. By the way, what I have with the mysterious woman is between us. Do not get yourself concerned. It is none of your business." All of them were utterly shocked. Nianma. Spiritual Master Yu Hang started to panic. "Call me Di Fui." Shen Nianma gave him an icy look. "That is only your nickname, not your real identity. You are the son of the Divine Lord, how can you change your surname? It is considered as sacrilege. My father does not even bother about it. Why should you interfere? You cannot do so. I am sure the Divine Lord will never approve of it." Spiritual Master Yu Hang tried to persuade him. Di Fui continued scornfully, "Approving or disapproving, it is a matter between us, father and son, so, it certainly has nothing to do with you. All right, that is all that I wanted to say. Take care." He turned and left. Nianma. Nianma. Nianma, they tried to call him back, but he never looked back. Master Fengxing could not help but loudly demand, "Fui, you are doing so because you are indignant at the siege that we have plotted against the mysterious woman, aren't you?" Without even looking back, Di Fui stopped and answered sternly, "About the siege of 10 masters against a woman, is it really something to be proud of?" The masters remained quiet. They would never work together for an ambush, but today was an exception. "Fui, you do not know about the origin of the woman. I am sure she harbors evil intentions. Also, she bears extraordinary kung fu, almost as good as your parents. When a woman like her tries to get her hands on a child, we cannot sit and wait for it to happen. We do not want anything to happen to you. We had to do what we did," Spiritual Master Yu Hang explained. "Fui, the woman is truly mysterious. What if she is the descendant of Luo Jiuchen?" "She is not." Di Fui interrupted. Hesitantly, Master Fengxing continued, "Fui, you may know one's appearance, but you may never know one's intentions. You are too young to understand that one's heart is incomprehensible. We have to protect you against the woman, she has a dubious background and excellent kung fu." "Do you really fancy her?" Di Fui surprisingly turned around and gave him a tight smile. "What if I really do fancy her?" Both Master Fengxing and Spiritual Master Yu Hang panicked. "No. No way. You are not good together. Did the child really fall for the old woman?" Although the old woman was exceptionally beautiful, their age gap was too large to be ignored. Nianma was only 6. "Good or not, we shall decide it on our own. It is not up to you to decide. She will never be true to you. She must have evil motives." Di Fui responded with a smile and said something even more surprising, "Even if she really has evil motives, I insist that I must marry her and make her my wife." Di Fui gave no further attention to the people, who stood frozen, not knowing what to do. He summoned his ride and left. He had to go looking for Gu Shijiu, the woman who once said that she would kidnap him and make him her husband. He was desperate for them to get married right away. He was young, there was no rush. Additionally, she was old enough, so the marriage could wait for a few more years. When he traveled the world as Mr. Fui, he had made many friends from many different regions and industries who had different capabilities. Some of them were excellent at finding people. When he found out that Gu Shijiu was severely injured and could not reach her, he quickly made contacts with a few of these people, so they could help search for her. With her injuries, she would not make it very far. She was probably hiding somewhere odd to treat her wounds. He believed that he would find her in no time. To his dismay, he received no news about her even after 3 days. All his friends had searched every corner in the Fengyun Valley, covering the area as wide as they could. They only managed to find a small piece of cloth and a pool of dried-out blood on the floor in one of the caves in the snowy mountain. She was nowhere to be seen. On the mountaintop, Di Fui held the piece of cloth tightly in his hand. He studied the blood and realized that it must have been spat, instead of dripped. He could also tell based on the clues left behind that she had been lying down on one side. He could tell that her injuries were severe, as she could hardly sit. Obviously, she once took a rest here. The signs were left behind just 3 days ago, and based on their observations, she must have stayed for less than an hour before she left. Why was she in a rush to leave, even with the severity of her injuries? What happened? Di Fui was unable to contain his curiosity that burned like a raging wildfire. He pinched his lips into a tight line and started searching for more clues. There is nothing else, brother. We have searched the entire place. His friend told him. Di Fui said nothing more and continued his search in the cave. Later, he extended his search outside the cave. Suddenly, an idea came to him. He took out the directed audio spell and tried to contact her once more. His eyes swept across the area and found something. He leaped and dug up the snow. His fingers froze at sight. There it was, a dark red directed audio spell, covered in the snow. It was the directed audio spell that she used to keep in touch with him. He did not know that she had left it behind in the snow. No wonder that he could not reach her. The directed audio spell used to be in a pale color, but it was covered in too much blood now. Even the snow had been stained. Did she leave it behind because it was too filthy? Fui, we have checked all the rides and carriages that have passed through the sky above the Fengyun Valley for the past 3 days. None of them was the one that you are looking for. Another report came. She was so severely injured. If she wanted to leave, she would have to take a ride or a carriage, but her whereabouts were unnoticed. How did she leave the place, then? Brother Fui, would anything happen to her while she was here alone? A man voiced his concern. The place was rather deserted. Many beasts surrounded the mountains. If they came spotting the sign of her blood, she would not be able to defend herself. She could have ended up being a meal. No way. Di Fui interrupted. He had spent some time with her to know very well about her temperament and her agility. In times of danger, the woman was good at forcing her way out. She could always come out with many surprising ideas. With her extraordinary capabilities, she would not possibly end up being a meal of some random beasts. The real question was where she went. Di Fui clenched his fists in frustration. This woman had sent him into difficult situations many times. She only treated him as a target of her mission, but on the contrary, she started the rumors herself and ruined his innocence by spreading the false news publicly. His close friends, who knew him as Shin Nianma, started to joke around by calling him her little husband. They even proceeded to ask how he felt about it. He did not feel anything particular about it. However, he was confident about one thing: since she had made the announcement so publicly, he should turn the rumors into a reality. She had to learn her lesson that words had power. If she said something irresponsible, she had to be responsible for the consequences. The directed audio spell at his waist lighted up all of a sudden. Di Fui picked it up and heard the news from the other end. Brother Fui, there was a carriage that entered the residence of Long Sai, who is known as General Biao Qi, a few days ago. His place has been enforced with restricted entries ever since. Di Fui heaved a sigh of relief. He had placed some men at different places where Gu Zijia's friends lived. They were requested to report at once if there was any news at all. Gu Shizhou was indeed severely injured, mostly internally. Some of her organs were greatly affected. She tried very hard to hide her pain in front of her opponents. However, after a few rounds of teleportation, she started to suffer from blackouts and was too weak to tell which direction to go. She could only try to stray as far away from the Fengyun Valley as she possibly could and ended up on the mountains. Once there, she could barely hold herself together and spat a few mouthfuls of blood. She wanted to get in touch with Long Sai and ask for his help, but she did not have the strength to retrieve the directed audio spell. Unsteadily, she stumbled and staggered at length into the cave. She wanted to meditate, but could not even sit up straight. She had to lay herself down on the floor to catch her breaths. The Muscle and Lu Wu were very worried about her condition, but none of them had any medical knowledge to offer their help. In the mountains, the beasts roared and billowed, but they could not get any closer, for the muscle and Lu Wu were constantly guarding the place. Gu Shijiu planned to stay for a while to meditate until her condition become better, and at least to regain her strength. However, the severity of her injuries was beyond her expectation. After half an hour of rest, she still could not find the strength even to sit up. She tried to swallow some medicines that were made for fast recovery. She thought she could at least sit up when the medication took effect, but none of them worked. Chapter 1998. Gu Shijiu could feel her heart pounding in her chest, but she could not suppress it. She knew she must not delay her treatment any longer. She had to find someone she could trust to help her with her recovery, otherwise, she would lose her life in the wilderness. She thought about Long Sai and wanted to get in touch with him for his help, but she could not find the directed audio spell in her storage bag. She must have lost it during the violent fight. It probably slipped from her bag when she took her weapons out. Therefore, she could only approach him, personally. Lu Wu offered its help. "Master, I will carry you there." The muscle disagreed. "Silly, our master can barely hold herself together. I should take her in my shell, and you can carry us both. It is you who wishes to get a free ride, right? Why do you have to make it sound like master needs it?" Lu Wu disdained the idea. Weakly, Gu Shijiu tried to stop them from arguing. "We cannot go by air. There will surely be interceptions. Muscle, please carry me away via ground drilling." All the masters had suffered a significant loss in the Fengyun Valley. Certainly, they would send out their men to hunt her down. Therefore, ground drilling was the only way out. However, there was a long way to go. With ground drilling, they could only make it to Long Sai's place after 5 or 6 days. Her treatment could not be delayed for that long. Therefore, Gu Shijiu proposed another idea. The muscle would carry her to the 7th heaven. From there, Lu Wu would camouflage into the appearance of a horse and carry her all the way. The muscle's ground drilling had reached a high degree of technical proficiency. It could dig its way down without leaving any signs behind. With their level of kung fu, the muscle and Lu Wu would not leave any traces behind unless they did it on purpose, which explained why Di Fui failed to find anything. Long Sai had been very busy for the past few years. He used to be the leader of a clan. Even with his memory erased, his instincts remained, so his people's skills came in handy. Not only did his kung fu increase tremendously, but he was also promoted to an even higher social rank as well. He was already a general now, the right-hand man of the Emperor Immortal. As a general, he surely had many men, so he could always receive the latest news. He had undoubtedly heard the news about Gu Shijiu in the Fengyun Valley and Mount Wujie. He knew that Gu Shijiu successfully escaped, but was injured and that her whereabouts were unknown. He was concerned with her well-being, so he tried to call her many times via his directed audio spell, but she never picked up. He had also sent many secret agents to find her. However, 3 days went by, but no news came by. The skies were already dark. He was circling his room restlessly like ants on a hot pan when all of a sudden, a black carriage landed in his backyard. The carriage looked somewhat odd, and not just because it was entirely black. Even the horse pulling the carriage was black. Many guards were protecting the area of his residence. The sudden emergence of a black carriage would certainly catch their attention. Therefore, they surrounded the carriage and started to interrogate. They could not hear any sound from the carriage, it was in complete silence. Instead, the magical horse started communicating, "I hereby request to see General Long. An old acquaintance of his is here to visit." The guards had seen many magical horses before, but they had never met such an arrogant one. The leader of the guards stood in its way to stop it from getting another step closer to the hall. Meanwhile, he sent his men to tell Long Sai of the incident. Long Sai went to check the situation as soon as he heard about it. Upon seeing the carriage, he was a little confused, for he could not recall whose carriage it was. The magical horse seemed to be relieved to see him. Before he could ask, the horse started asking him for a favor. "General Long, please send your men away. Long Sai was astonished. His men, however, refused to back down. "General, I am concerned that the intruder bears no good intention." Long Sai dismissed his concerns swiftly. "There is nothing to be worried about. I have a grasp of the situation. You may leave now. Spread no word about what happened tonight. If anything goes out, you are responsible for it." The leader of the guards was puzzled, but he could never go against the general's command. He took the order and left with the rest of his men. Long Sai turned his attention to the carriage and asked gently, "Shijiu, is that you?" The carriage answered, "Overlord Long, you are a smart man." Then, Long Sai watched as the carriage changed its camouflage and turned into a mussel of pale pink color. The mussel, with the look of an adorable child, fixed its hopeful eyes on Long Sai, as though a lost child who had just found a policeman. "Overlord Long, please help my master. She needs you." It then opened its shells, exposing Gu Shijiu. There she lay, looking as pale as a white paper. Her breathing was weak, and one could easily tell the severity of her injuries. She forced a smile when she saw Long Sai. "Long. Instructor Long. Save me." Long Sai started to tremble in immense anxiety. After all stresses and strains, he finally put Gu Shijiu in his private room. Long Sai had checked her pulse and noticed that many of her organs were not functioning well. Her injuries could not simply be undone. If the same injuries happened to a normal celestial being, he or she would be long gone. Gu Zijia's strength and advanced spiritual power had kept her alive until now. Moreover, she had also taken some pills to help her survive, which was why she was still conscious after 3 days without any help. Her face, however, was ashen. After examining the severity of her injuries, Long Sai was even more worried. The golden splitting spell caused the injuries that she suffered from. It was a potent spell that could cause maximum harm to its target. The golden splitting spell was an exclusive technique from spiritual master Shanjing. Once hit, the spell would cause the victim's organs to become liquefied and melt away into a pool of blood. It was strong enough to cause severe injuries even to Gu Shijiu, who had always been strong and tough. Spiritual master Shanjing was really a hermit, who had always been hiding away in solitude. It came as a surprise to Long Sai that he was also one of the members of the siege. The spell required an exclusive cure, which could only be made by spiritual master Shanjing. Otherwise, the affected organs would never be able to recover. On the contrary, they would become even worse as time went by. Gu Shijiu knew that her injuries were one of a kind. She saw Long Sai's nervous expression, which basically confirmed her assumption. "Can my injuries be cured by the triumphant recovery spell?" The triumphant recovery spell was a special recovery spell that could heal any internal or external injuries. Gu Shijiu was the one who taught Long Sai about the spell, so she knew that he could help her. The spell would require both of them to work together, which was why Gu Shijiu was in such a hurry to see Long Sai. Long Sai seemed quite unsure about the idea. He began to speak, then hesitated. Gu Shijiu continued, "No worries, tell me how bad it is." Long Sai knew he could not hide the truth from her, so he told her about the severity of the golden splitting spell. Gu Shijiu had not met many people from the upper bound, so she certainly did not expect that the spell would be so harmful when spiritual master Shanjing attacked her. Even Long Sai was aggrieved at the violence. "I have heard about spiritual master Shanjing. It was said that he is a man of great generosity and charity. I had even thought about befriending him when the opportunity came. To my dismay, he is actually a hypocrite. How could he act so violently towards a woman like you?" Gu Shijiu heaved a sigh. "Oh, I see. The tall man is actually spiritual master Shanjing. Actually, he suffered from severe injuries too." Spiritual master Shanjing was a really tall, broad-shouldered man that served as a huge contrast next to Gu Shijiu. During the fight, Gu Shijiu wanted to hit him at his leg with resentful kicks, but she missed and hit his private part instead. His facial expression changed abruptly. He could not help but call her a monstrous girl. Cold sweats broke out when he quickly retreated. Then, he hit and injured her with the spell. The rest of her injuries were not complicated to heal. The only thing that left Long Sai helpless was the golden splitting spell. He took out all of his finest medicines to let her try them, but she refused. Instructor Long, your medicine is not as good as mine. The medicines will not work. We should try the triumphant recovery spell first. Long Sai clenched his fists in indignation. I will go and ask for the cure from the old man, Shanjing. Gu Shizhou shook her head in disapproval and said, he will not give it to you. They are hunting me as well. Gu Shizhou knew how bad the kick was. If she were not mistaken, spiritual master Shanjing would experience erectile dysfunction for the next few centuries. Spiritual master Shanjing must be very desperate to torture her to the core. Why would he even offer the cure? Furthermore, if Long Sai really went to ask for the cure from him, her hiding place would be exposed. They would definitely find her in his residence. These people wanted to lock her up in their cage. She certainly would not let their wish come true. Long Sai could not think of any other ways. His medical knowledge came from the books given by Gu Shizhou, so what he knew surely would not be any better than what Gu Shizhou knew. Without a choice, he could only do as told. The effect of the triumphant recovery spell was really strong. However, it would require both the healer and the patient to sit in two separate wooden tubs. The tubs would be filled with liquid medicine and aligned next to each other. They would connect their palms and channel their power individually. Furthermore, both of them had to be naked in order to perform the spell. If she had a choice, she would not put Long Sai into the embarrassing situation to perform the treatment for her. Long Sai did not want to delay the treatment anymore. He quickly ordered his men to prepare the herbs. The preparation was rather troublesome. The process alone took 3 hours. In order to prevent any possible mistakes, he had to examine the ingredients personally to make sure they were the finest. When everything was thoroughly prepared, it was already midnight. A big wooden tub was carried into the private room. It was filled with translucent blue bubbles. The herbs tossed and turned in the tub, following the flow of the bubbles. Long Sai was a gentleman. He knew that Gu Shizhou could hardly move, so he sent 2 female servants to the room to help her undress. Then, he planned to enter another room where the other wooden tub was placed. After he soaked himself in the water, 2 female servants would come and carry the tub away to place him in her room. The tubs would be put next to each other. He had thought things through. There should not be any error. However, to his surprise, an unexpected guest arrived. Just before he started to undress, a servant came reporting, General Long, Mr. Fui is here to visit. Long Sai's fingers froze as he heard the news.